So I've given you my early Oscar predictions in the top 8 categories. Now it's time for me to predict the winners. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender, and the time has come, my annual video where I give you my early predictions for who is going to win. In the top 8 categories at the 97th Academy Awards, what do I think is taking home the gold trophy? Let's start with Best Adapted Screenplay. So in some ways, I would say the 2 screenplay categories are the easiest to predict right now. I'm not seeing like a big surprise in either adapted or original screenplay. There seems to be a pretty obvious frontrunner in both categories, and I don't think that's going to change between now and early March. I think in Best Adapted Screenplay, Conclave is winning. I think Conclave has had that in the bag for months. Like in that category, we might see Nickel Boys, Sing Sing, maybe Wicked, right? Maybe Dune Part 2. There's certain really great films of 2024 that might get into this category, but what can really beat Conclave? I don't know. I don't see it. I don't even know like what's in second place. Right now, I think it's a very distant second place, whichever film is there, because Conclave, I mean, it's going to be competitive in other categories. I think it's going to receive at least 6 or 7 Oscar nominations total. It's getting into Best Picture. I still think it's getting into Director. I mean, Director, it's like, okay, maybe Edward Berger misses that at the end of the day. I still think it's happening. Even if it didn't get into Director, I think it's still winning Best Adapted Screenplay. I just feel like that's the place where you reward that movie, and I do think Conclave is going to win something big. Now, we'll get to the Best Picture conversation at the end of this video. Conclave has a path. It has a very good shot, I would say, at winning the Best Picture Oscar. It could do it. I'm not sure at this moment if it can pull it off. But yeah, it's looking pretty good in screenplay. So my early Oscar prediction for Best Adapted Screenplay is Peter Strahan for Conclave. Next up is Best Original Screenplay, and I do think this is the easiest call of the top 8 categories, even easier than Adapted Screenplay. Sean Baker is winning this absolutely for Anora. Brady Corbett's gonna be there for The Brutalist. I'm starting to feel pretty good that The Substance is going to make it into original screenplay. If that film can win in screenplay somewhere along the way, maybe it could be competitive there. But I just feel like Anora is way out in front. It's going to win a ton of prizes in original screenplay, from Golden Globes to BAFTA. I can see Anora sweeping screenplay, winning pretty much everything. So unless something happens along the way where it's not being very competitive to win at some of these big precursor ceremonies, then I might question this prediction. But I think because Anora is getting into picture for sure, and Sean Baker could be competitive to win in director, it's why wouldn't he win original screenplay for Anora? I feel like a lot of awards voters might say, well, we're not going to give him director, but we'll give him original screenplay. That's his big prize this season for the movie. And so at the Oscars, sure, you could argue that the win could go to The Substance or The Brutalist or something, but I don't know. I think Anora has this one. There's a lot of different possibilities in the acting categories, in director and picture, but I don't think that's the case in original screenplay. I think Sean Baker is taking that one. So my early Oscar prediction for Best Original Screenplay is Sean Baker for Anora. Next is Best Supporting Actor. Who is going to win Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars? I feel like there's a clear frontrunner here already. We've only had a few Critics' Prizes over the last couple weeks. We have Golden Globe nominations, Critics' Choice nominations. I am leaning towards Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. I think that's going to be A Real Pain's big Oscar win of the night. A Real Pain will get into original screenplay. I'm almost certain of that for Jesse Eisenberg. I don't think that wins over a Nora or the Brutalist in that category. Supporting actor is where you reward a real pain. Kieran Culkin is a force of nature in that movie. He's so great. He's in basically the entire movie. I do believe that's a lead performance, but it's going to be in supporting, and it is one of the best performances of the year. He's so freaking great in that. And I look at the category and I'm like, okay, well, who could beat him? I thought Clarence Macklin could have a chance, but he didn't even get in at the Globes, and that hurts his chances a little bit, I would say. You have Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. I feel like Guy Pearce is going to show up everywhere, but he's not going to be competitive to win. And then Denzel Washington, some were pointing to him as an early frontrunner, but Gladiator 2 is underperforming. It's not doing very well. So, I'm like, well, who can beat him? I mean, there's Yura Borisov for a Nora. Maybe Edward Norton gets in for a complete unknown. But who is in second place? I mean, I guess it's Pierce or Washington. And right now, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing a path forward for them. I mean, Washington already has 2 Oscar wins. Would they give him a third for Gladiator 2? I don't see that. This will be Guy Pearce's first Oscar nomination. The Brutalist is going to get into a ton of categories. So I feel like at this moment, Pierce might be in second. Pierce might be able to compete, but I don't know. As much as I love his performance in that, it's a very cold, kind of demonic performance at times. The second half of the movie and certain things, I'm just like, I don't know if he wins a major trophy for that performance. And I don't think he's won anything at like the Critics' Prizes yet. Whereas Kieran Culkin has won at least 3 major prizes with critics so far. It's such an appealing performance. We all love Kieran Culkin, of course, from Succession. He did very well on that show, like won the Emmy and things. And now he's in a movie that's probably getting into Best Picture. It's definitely getting into original screenplay. I can see at Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, like Kieran Culkin just winning there, and then he sweeps all the way to the Oscars. He's this season's Da'Vine Joy Randolph, and he wins practically everywhere. I think that might happen for Culkin. Even though he's not in a movie that's going to be competitive to win like Best Picture or anything, that's feeling right to me. I'm feeling like it's going to be Culkin. So unless I'm proven wrong early on, like in January, he's not winning a few things, then I'll say, okay, maybe not. But I don't see someone else taking it over him at this moment. So my early Oscar prediction in Best Supporting Actor is Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain. Okay, now Best Supporting Actress. Now things get tricky. Supporting Actress, I've been going back and forth on this for a few hours. Earlier this morning, I was like, oh, it's gonna be her. And then I thought about it, and I was like, maybe not. Like Supporting Actress can go a lot of different ways. We'll see what happens at the Globes and at Critics' Choice. And I don't see someone sweeping in Supporting Actress. I don't see one person just taking every prize and then they win the Oscar. I don't think that's going to happen. Last season, it was mostly sweeps. In acting, remember, the only bit of suspense was after Lily Gladstone won SAG for female actor in a leading role over Emma Stone. So we were like, oh, maybe Emma Stone might not win the Oscar at the end of the day. But Da'Vine Joy Randolph won everywhere. Robert Downey Jr. won everywhere. Cillian Murphy got everything but Critics' Choice, which went to Paul Giamatti. But only winning Critics' Choice is not enough to win the Oscar. So we knew by Oscar nights that was going to Murphy. I mean, I'm always hopeful year to year that it's not just sweeps across the board. I love it when there's chaos. When one person wins at Globes and one person wins at Critics' Choice, another person wins at SAG, and we're like, what is going on here? I'm hoping we get at least one category where that happens this year. I feel like it could be Supporting Actress. I mean, I might be proven wrong. Maybe there is going to be one person that just sweeps the category from the Globes to the Oscars. That's possible because here's the deal. I feel like Ariana Grande for Wicked is going to do well. I think she's going to win at least 2 places. I feel like she might win at the Globes. She could win at SAG, but it's tricky. I'm not fully convinced right now that Ariana Grande is going to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. I'm just I don't know. There's 2 things, because she's very new to the film scene, right? She's been in a couple things, but this is her first big role in a big movie. And there is Jennifer Hudson for Dreamgirls. And there are examples of people who just come on strong. And even if they don't have a long body of work behind them, it doesn't matter, because everybody loves the performance enough that they're just we're gonna give you the trophy at every ceremony. So if my only issue was that Ariana Grande is kind of new to the theatrical film scene, that wouldn't be a huge problem. It's that we all know there's a second part of Wicked coming in November 2025. And so it's going to be weird to me if Ariana Grande sweeps Best Supporting Actress. She wins the Oscar. Then what happens with Wicked Part 2? You'd think if she were going to win, she would win for the second part after the whole movie is done and released. It just feels weird, midstream, halfway through this saga, we give her the Oscar. So that's the piece of it I'm struggling with. I'm I don't know. I feel like she's going to win something. She's not going to just be left out in the cold and only be a nominee the entire season. She's so bonkers great in Wicked that, I've been struggling with this. I feel like at the Oscars, the frontrunners will be Ariana Grande and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. The dark horse is going to be potentially Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. I have been doubting her for a few months. I didn't think she was in the movie enough, but she is now in at the Globes and at Critics' Choice. And if she can get a win somewhere, let's say she gets the BAFTA nomination and she wins at BAFTA over Ariana Grande, over Zoe Saldana. I could see a path for Rossellini to win the Oscar at the end of the day. Pull a Beatrice Straight network. For her one really great scene in that movie, Academy voters are well, we don't want to give it to Grande because there's a second half of the movie still coming. Maybe they don't love Emilia Perez that much, so they go with Rossellini. I can see that. I'm still I still don't think she's in the movie enough, especially to win the Oscar. So I am leaning toward Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. I think it all depends on how many Oscar nominations that movie gets. If Emilia Perez at the Oscars gets into picture, director, actress, maybe screenplay, some tech nominations, things like that. If the movie does well, it performs well or even overperforms, I feel like Emilia Perez gets one big Oscar trophy, and if it's going to win something, it's going to be in supporting actress for Zoe Saldana. She's also great in the movie. She's got some very memorable scenes, lots of singing, lots of emotion. It's very dramatic. And she has a very rich body of work going back many, many years in film and TV. This will be her first Oscar nomination, like pretty much everyone else in that category is going to be. But it depends on how much the Academy responds to Emilia Perez. If enough people just don't really go for that movie, I could see Ariana Grande winning this at the end of the day. It's still early. I can see it being Grande. Maybe I'm overthinking this and Ariana Grande is just going to sweep the season the way Ariana DeBose did for West Side Story 3 years ago. That could happen. I could also see Rossellini taking it if she wins a BAFTA, and the Academy can't decide between Grande and Saldana. They go with Rossellini. That could happen too. Go with the veteran who's in one of the most beloved films of the year, Conclave. But my early Oscar prediction for the winner of Best Supporting Actress is Zoe Saldana, Emilia Perez. Okay, Best Actor. Who is going to win Best Actor? We already know who 4 of the 5 nominees are going to be. Adrien Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, and Ralph Fiennes for Conclave. Like, those 4 nominations are happening. If any one of those guys misses at the Oscars, I will be like, what? Like, I think we'll all be just like up in arms, like, what just happened? Like, I think those 4 are pretty safe. Whoever gets that 5th place slot is just going to be happy to be there. So it's like, okay, well, who can win? I feel like the 3 people who can win Best Actor at the Oscars are Brody, Chalamet, and Fiennes. Like, if they really go crazy nuts for Conclave, I could see Ralph Fiennes, like, winning the Oscar. He's never won before. He is beloved. He has such great work going back many decades. And, like, I mean, he should have won for Schindler's List back in 1994. And I mean, you know, if we want to reward the veteran in this category who's never won, it should be Ralph Fiennes. So we'll see, like, can he win anywhere along the way? Could he win at the Globes? Could he win at SAG? If he wins somewhere big along the way, I might start to think that Fiennes can take the Oscar. Right now, I'm just like, I don't think the role gives him enough to do, like, emotionally. It's not the kind of part in a film where I'm like, oh, well, clearly they're gonna win an Academy Award. So I think that hurts him a little bit, but he's definitely in competition. I would put, like, at the top, Brody and Chalamet. And, like, it's tricky because I think Brody is the best in that category. I think Brody should win his 2nd Best Actor Oscar. I think he deserves it. The question is, are enough Academy members going to say, well, he already won. Like, he's won for The Pianist. Like, how about we go with Timothée Chalamet this year, who's not only great in A Complete Unknown, but he's also fantastic in Dune Part 2. Like, 2 films that are going to be in Best Picture. Like, he's in both of those. Something Chalamet is doing in A Complete Unknown that helps him is playing a real-life person. He is singing. That's huge. So, like, I think there's absolutely a path where Chalamet wins the whole thing. Like, if he beats Brody at the Globes, which is possible, I can see that. Like, I can see Chalamet taking that in Best Actor Drama, then it's gonna be like, okay, this might be Chalamet's year. I mean, he's a previous Oscar nominee. He was nominated for Call Me By Your Name, so there's that. And, like, it all depends on how much everybody really loves A Complete Unknown. Can it get into Best Picture at the end of the day? I think that would help him big time if it gets into Picture. Something I do think hurts his chances a little bit is that he's still very young. What is he, like 28, 29? He's young. That would be, like, basically the youngest person to ever win Best Actor. Adrien Brody is still to date the youngest Best Actor Oscar winner. I think he was 29. So, like, Chalamet is right around there. So, I mean, I think if he was, like, early 20s, I would be doubting this big time. I think, like, he's getting closer to 30. So I don't know how much of a factor that is. What I'm struggling with is that Adrien Brody is so frickin' phenomenal in The Brutalist. Like, it's one of the best performances of the year easily. And I'm like, I feel like the quality of Brody's performance in that movie can be enough. I think that might be enough, even though he's won before. Even though Academy members are not going to be like, oh my God, we have to give him a second trophy. It's been too long. I don't see that. Like, Chalamet, there are some things about that performance in that movie. I'm like, this could be Rami Malek, Bohemian Rhapsody kind of a thing where, like, he just nails that character. He nails Bob Dylan in that movie to the extent that he just starts winning everything. He wins the Globe, maybe Brody wins at Critics' Choice, but then Chalamet wins at SAG, and he wins at BAFTA, and it's like, well, I guess it is going to Chalamet at the end of the day. That could happen. I'm like 52-48 on this. I thought about predicting Chalamet. I feel like come February, I'll be like, Brian, Like, why in that December video did you not go with Chalamet? Just because he's young? Like, that's like your main reasoning? I don't know. I freaking love The Brutalist so much. And that performance by Adrien Brody, that is an Oscar-worthy role. I feel like that's the role in this category this year we give the gold trophy to. Just the quality of what he does in that 3.5-hour film is something else. So again, I'm very close on this, but my early Oscar prediction for Best Actor is Adrien Brody, The Brutalist. All right, my favorite category, Best Actress. Who is going to take Best Actress? I have said since seeing Anora at the Toronto Film Festival that the performance of the year is Mikey Madison. She is so spectacular in that. From scene to scene, it is her movie through and through. She is in basically like every moment of that 2-hour plus running time. And it's a star-making role. She gives it everything she has and succeeds beautifully. So if you had asked me this question in September, I would say Mikey Madison is taking this, obviously. Now, there are a couple things that don't make me as confident now as I might have been in September. Like Chalamet, as I just talked about, Mikey Madison is very young. She's like 25, 26, something around there. So, I mean, it's harder sometimes to win a Best Actress Oscar when you're in your 20s. There could be the thinking of like, well, she has time. Like, we can give her a trophy down the road. We don't have to give her one now when she's in her 20s. And so there's that. She's playing a sex worker in the film. I feel like maybe some Academy members, will go against that. They don't want to reward that or something. I mean, I don't think that will be too much of a factor, but it might be like a little factor. And then Best Actress is just like hugely competitive this year. There's like 10 plus performances battling out to get into the Oscars in those 5 slots. And like at the Globes and at Critics' Choice and SAG, there are some people who could overtake Madison, who could win an early prize and make it kind of suspenseful. Make it so we're not quite sure going into the Oscars who is going to win at the end of the day. I still feel like Mikey Madison is the front runner, but like, what if Angelina Jolie wins a big prize early on? What if Demi Moore wins at SAG or something? With each passing day, I'm starting to feel more and more confident that Demi Moore might happen. Like, she might get in at the Oscars, and she is one of the veterans here. She's never received an Oscar nomination. She's in one of the greatest films of the year. There is such passion for the substance. I have already seen online people saying, watch out for Demi Moore to win the Oscar. And to be honest, like, if Mikey Madison had to lose to someone at the Oscars, like Demi Moore, I would be all good with that. I would be like, yes, awesome. Like, I still at this point, I don't think that's going to happen. I think she can get the nomination maybe, but I don't see Demi Moore winning an Academy Award for The Substance. That would be crazy. That would be so freaking awesome. Like, too awesome to imagine, right? It's too much. So, but like, there are going to be other people being competitive. I don't think Mikey Madison just sweeps from the Globes to the Oscars. That would surprise me. I would love to see it because it is my favorite performance of the year. And I think the big thing that helps Mikey Madison is that she's in one of the most beloved films of 2024, a movie that's going to be competitive to win in picture and director and original screenplay. I think that helps her in a way more than anything because she's in such a strong film that is going to win in other places than just actress. Like, if Anora was just a so-so movie, but she was really great in it, then I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if she's going to win necessarily. But because the movie is so great and could win picture in places, like that could win Best Picture, it's going to help her win in Best Actress. So like Jolie could be competitive. I think Demi Moore could win something along the way. and really make this a very fun category to watch all the way to the Oscars. But as of now, in December, I'm not convinced it's going to someone else. My early Oscar prediction for Best Actress is Mikey Madison for Anora. Okay, 2 categories left. Best Director. Who is going to take Director? This could also go a few different ways. Sean Baker could win this for Anora. If the Academy just goes all in on that movie, they could give it original screenplay, actress, director, and picture. Like, I can see that happening. Like, maybe we're all overthinking it and we're like, oh, well, maybe they'll spread the wealth and they'll give this movie director, that movie picture, this movie screenplay. Like, you know, it could be everything everywhere all at once, right? Where it's like, okay, it wins screenplay, it wins director, it wins picture. That could happen. But I don't know. I don't know if you necessarily give Anora Best Director. That's where I struggle. In a category that also has Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, I'm just like, even though he hasn't won a ton of critics prizes in director, which has honestly surprised me a little. I'm like, what's going on here? You know, Ramel Ross is doing very well for Nickel Boys. Coralie Farja could get into the Oscars in director. That would be amazing. You have Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. You have Edward Berger for Conclave. You have Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez. You have a lot of people who could break into the category, but it's like, who can win director at the Academy Awards? I feel like it's either Sean Baker for Anora or Brady Corbet for The Brutalist to win. You know, like, I don't think Ramel Ross wins the Oscar in Best Director for Nickel Boys. As astonishing as his work is in that film, the way he directed that movie, I don't think he wins. I think the nomination would be the win. I still feel like in December, Brady Corbet is a little bit above Sean Baker. I don't see Baker necessarily taking director, especially if he's already winning original screenplay. I feel like The Brutalist is going to do well with Academy members. I think a lot of people are going to recognize just what an outstanding directorial achievement that movie is, especially when they learn it cost under $10 million, which is freaking crazy. Like, I still don't believe that. I'm like, what? Like, how did that movie cost anything less than like 40, 50 million? It's pretty out there. Like, what Brady Corbet was able to put on the screen, like the emotion of that story, the epic scope, it's really quite something. One of the most amazing cinema achievements of 2024. And even if Brady Corbet doesn't necessarily win everything along the way, I feel like he's going to win DGA. And I feel like he's going to win the Oscar. Again, maybe it's Baker. Maybe I'm overthinking this and director and original screenplay are going to go to Sean Baker for Anora. That could happen. Like, you know, the last few years, we don't always see director and picture go to 2 different movies. Like, you know, it was Nolan and Oppenheimer. It was the Daniels and Everything Everywhere All at Once the last 2 years. So, you know, but I feel like every few years we do get a split, you know. The year of Coda and Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. Coda wasn't even nominated in director that year. It happens, you know, here and there, and I feel like it's going to happen again this year. My early Oscar prediction for Best Director is Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. And finally, that takes me to Best Picture. What movie is going to win Picture? I don't think it's going to be The Brutalist. That's why it's kind of weird making these early predictions. I feel pretty strongly that Brady Corbet can win director, but I don't see the movie itself taking picture. Isn't that weird? That's where I'm like, oh, you know, maybe it is just going to be the same film to take picture and director, I don't know. But yeah, I feel like The Brutalist isn't even in second place. I think it might be in like third. I think the 2 frontrunners to win Best Picture are Anora and Conclave. I feel like Conclave could take picture, especially if there's enough chaos, like The Brutalist is winning these couple big prizes, and then Anora's winning these couple. Like, Anora takes actress and original screenplay, and The Brutalist takes actor and director. And it's like, okay, well, do we give this top prize to Anora? Do we give it to The Brutalist? We don't know. You know which film we really like? Conclave. That's a really great movie. Let's just give picture to Conclave. Conclave takes picture and adapted screenplay, and we have 3 films, like the ABCs, Anora, Brutalist, Conclave, all get to win 2 top prizes. That could happen. Like, Conclave could pull a spotlight where it only wins picture and screenplay, at least in the top categories. And that's how it works out, because Conclave is the consensus choice. There's some people in the Academy who don't love The Brutalist. It's too long, it's too dark, it's too cold. Some of them aren't even finishing their screener. Anora, it's about a sex worker. It's kind of a screwball comedy for the middle hour of that movie. I feel like some Academy members might be like, this is a good film, but do we want to give it Best Picture? Like, what's the movie that really represents, the Academy Awards? Conclave. That's a film with a great ensemble cast, a good story, well told, very entertaining. Everyone enjoys watching it. So, a few hours ago, I was actually leaning toward predicting Conclave. But I don't know. Recently I was like, Conclave, is that really going to win picture? It wouldn't be one of my favorite picture wins of the decade, I'll tell you that much. I like that movie. I don't think it's anything great. It's okay. It's fine. But as I've been proven, with Green Book and The King's Speech, sometimes the best film in the category does not win Best Picture, right? Sometimes it's a film that I have closer to the bottom of the list of 10. And that takes picture because it's the one movie everyone agrees is pretty good. So yeah, my brain is kind of telling me, Brian, do not sleep on Conclave. That might be this year's Best Picture Oscar winner, but I don't know. I just think Anora, Sean Baker's Anora, is a masterpiece. It is such a freaking great movie. It's my favorite film of the year. I think if there's one movie that deserves to win the Oscar for Best Picture of 2024, it's Anora. I just think it's too damn good of a movie to ignore. I think at the end of the day, it has to win, right? It has to win picture. It's gonna be such a bummer if the Academy goes with the safe choice this year, when they have an opportunity to give Best Picture to truly one of the great films of the year in Anora, and they settle for Conclave or something. I'll be like, really? Come on. So again, I can see a path for Conclave. I can even see a path for The Brutalist. Best Picture is not going to Wicked at the Oscars. That's not happening. I know some people have talked about that, and I didn't even think about it until this moment. I'm like, Wicked is not going to win Best Picture. That would be shocking to me, honestly. I'd be like, what? I mean, if it gets into director and it gets into adapted screenplay, watch out. I mean, I guess if it got into those 2 categories, I'd be like, oh, okay. Maybe. But right now, I don't see that happening. I still think Conclave is a close second place. And my early prediction to win Best Picture at the 97th Academy Awards is Anora. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what are you currently predicting to win in the top 8 categories at the Oscars, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.